Hey guys, welcome to a new TV show, podcast episode, TV show, whatever you call it. It is called Let Me Talk, and I am here with Jonathan Zeichner. Jonathan Zeichner is my very first guest on this live podcast show, and it's a real pleasure having you here, Mr. Zeichner.
It's a pleasure to be here, Armando. Congratulations on kicking off your new show.
Thank you very much. So I would like to know, what got you to start doing start filming and acting in theater and stuff?
Well, I go all the way back to my days in high school. I went to a pretty cool high school in New Haven, Connecticut, and it was during the very end of the Vietnam War period. So we had a teacher there, Kathy Cash. She was a really interesting person. She had a background in anthropology, and she'd been in the Peace Corps and spent a lot of time in Africa. And she taught a couple of classes at the school, and one of them was the theater class, the drama class. And it was kind of a lefty political school, right? A little bit of a hippie school. And as I said, it was towards the end of the Vietnam War. I was, 15 years old. And we started doing these plays that were great plays. There was this play called Indians by Arthur Coppett. And we did a play called Lysistrata, which is, an ancient play, been around for a couple thousand years. And both of these plays were anti-war plays. And it was fascinating because I realized that by doing these plays, which were a bit controversial at a time when people had a lot of different ideas about the war, it riled people up in the audience. Like, we had people in the audience who were yelling and, there was no fight or anything, but people got very passionate. And that really turned me on. I immediately understood that theater and acting and messaging in a public way like that with an audience was a very powerful way to interact with folks and to get them to participate in sort of public dialogue, if you will. So my introduction to theater and to acting was not so much about, being famous or
it was just like,
or making money.
Yeah, liking the job.
Yeah, it was recognizing that art has the power to stimulate people and to get people passionate. So that was my introduction.
Yeah.
And then, over the years, I studied theater, studied acting. I also am a writer, so I started writing plays and movie scripts and things like that. And I got very involved and did a lot of classical theater, Shakespeare and other classical theater, and I just enjoyed it. I loved it, but I never depended on it to make a living, really. And I had other jobs, and I had a construction company, and I did a lot of different things. But then in the late 80s, I moved to LA, and I thought, okay, I'm going to give this a shot, and see if I can make a living as an actor. I had been getting some work up in San Francisco Bay Area, some television work, and I thought, okay, let me give it a shot. So I came down to LA, and I started working here in theater and did some work on soap operas and got some, small spots on TV shows and some movies and stuff like that. And I was making a little bit of a living.
Yeah, from what TV shows and movies?
Well, in the early days, let me see, I did a little guest spot on a show called Matlock.
Matlock.
Yeah, with Andy Griffith. He played, I think he was a detective or a district attorney or something like that, and I had a small role on that. There was a soap opera. In those days, it was the first all-black soap opera.
All right.
and I got a role. I was a nightclub owner, and that was great. It was a little regular role, but then that show got canceled. I did a guest spot on another soap opera called Santa Barbara. I had some small. This is all very small stuff, a small role in a really fun, great film called Contact. I still get little residuals from that one, and a few other things, and also theater.
All right.
I did a play that ran for quite a while in a small theater in Hollywood, and so I was getting work, but I was also writing. And I realized after a while that I was more interested in writing and directing because most of these small roles, acting roles, were not particularly meaningful or rewarding. And, as I shared earlier, my introduction to all this stuff was that theater was a way to engage in social commentary and social discourse. So honestly, doing little meaningless walk-on roles and TV shows and doing commercials and stuff, that really was not fulfilling for me. I mean, it was great that it earned me some money,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like really feeding my soul,
Yeah, I understand.
So I started writing, and I wrote a script that got a fair amount of attention, and that kind of changed things for me. I really started focusing more on writing and directing.
Writing on directing. Oh, real quick, guys. If you guys have seen or heard or watched any of those titles that Jonathan just said, please next time you watch it, please look for Jonathan in those following titles.
Yeah, it may be hard to find you. They're small roles, but
keep a lookout for Jonathan.
So, the other thing, Armando, was I was doing all that, but very early on, I bumped into somebody at an audition who told me about an organization that was doing theater work in psychiatric hospitals and homeless shelters and prison settings. And this was actually really interesting to me. And I ended up joining that organization and ultimately becoming the director of that organization. And it was all professional actors and writers and directors. And we were going into these settings and working with folks who were really wounded and marginalized and incarcerated and hospitalized, and using the art form.
Yeah, everything was so realistic.
Using the art form of theater to help them express themselves, find their own voices, write original plays, and do performances. So, again, for me, I was always looking for meaning, right? Like fame and money were not the primary motivation.
Yeah, it wasn't the goal.
To be an artist, no.
Yeah, so you try to find like a good character in each role. You try to find like the perfect fit for each character.
Well, some of it was about the character, but a lot of it was really more about the content. Like what
it was about.
Kind of stories are we working on? So, the first screenplay I wrote was about a guy who's a writer who goes away on a vacation. He comes back, and a woman and her two kids are squatting in his house. Homeless family, they're squatting in his house, and he tries to get rid of them, and they kind of keep showing up again, and turns out that this was the house that he grew up in, and they form this strange bond, where they end up kind of saving each other's lives. So that kind of content, that kind of story that's about real issues that are happening in the world, that was what was most interesting to me. And then I continued working in the nonprofit world all these years. And so I found a way to, stay a little bit involved in the entertainment industry in ways that were connected to the work I was doing in nonprofit, the social justice work that I was doing. And that was fun for me, but less and less I was doing entertainment that I wrote a long time ago ended up getting made just a few years ago as a TV movie. And, I directed a feature film a few years ago. And, it's been kind of spotty. I did not focus my attention 100%.
It's okay. Some people like
on
that.
Entertainment. Yeah.
What is the name of the feature film?
The film of my script that got made is called Welcome Home, and that was a TV movie. It got made about 3 or 4 years ago, and you can still find that online. I think,
yeah, you can. Starring Luke Perry.
It's starring Luke Perry. That's right. Yeah, Luke Perry, the late Luke Perry, unfortunately died last year. And then I wrote and directed another film called Hash Browns, which never got distribution and never got released, unfortunately. But it's a fun little film.
Right.
And so it's been a really fun kind of varied career that I've had, but I've really been full-time working in nonprofit. I run a nonprofit organization now called A Place Called Home. Called A Place Called Home. And, that's my full-time job. But every once in a while I do something still in entertainment.
Yeah, I've seen that place. I've seen a place called Home, like, sometimes when we drive by towards downtown Los Angeles, I've seen it along the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's on Central Avenue. And if you look that up online, apch.org, there's all kinds of amazing content, on our website. And there's video, and you can see me if you want to.
What is A Place Called Home? Like, how did that start?
Home, yeah, it's a community center in South Central LA, serving youth from 8 years old into their mid-20s, and families in the community. And we provide after-school, support for academics and the arts. We have a dance company, a dance studio, a recording studio, a theater, a digital media program. We teach music. We have an athletic program. We have gardens. We have mental health support. And we give away college scholarships and help young people develop vocational skills and career pathways. And we do some work with families as well. So it's a really great organization serving.
You really love doing that stuff.
I love doing that.
It helps the community. It helps Los Angeles grow. It helps help meet. You get to meet friends there, right? A lot of people get to become friends.
Oh yeah. No, there's so many young people there, and of course, right now with COVID, we're not on campus, but we've put all of our classes online. So we have about 80, 90 classes online, and we're also distributing food to families and helping families that are really in dire straits with rent and utility payments and stuff like that. So, it's a wonderful organization, and there are a lot of really great people involved, and your listeners could look into it and even come down and volunteer.
Yeah.
Especially once COVID is over and we all get back onto campus. But it's a cool organization, and we have a theater program there, so kids are learning acting, and we have our own theater, so we do performances there. We also make films, so we're very involved in the arts.
If you guys like any of those following subjects that Jonathan Zeichner just said, please come by A Place Called Home and check it out. Give it a chance.
Yeah, we got to get you down there, Armando.
I'll take a look into it.
Once we're through COVID, come on down.
Yeah. So, did you always start off? Did you start off as the executive director of that place when you first got in there, or how did it start off? How was it?
Well, I did there because that was. I've been there for about 11 and a half years, and I was actually brought in to to lead that organization at a time when it was really struggling during the recession of 2008, 2009. But of course, I didn't start as an executive director in the business. I started, as I mentioned earlier, I was working as a teaching artist at an organization called Imagination Workshop that was working in psychiatric hospitals and prison settings and homeless shelters. And I kind of grew and got turned on to the whole concept of nonprofit and became the artistic director there after a few years. And then I started my own organization called Inside Out Community Arts with a partner. We co-founded that right after the unrest, after the Rodney King police
I heard
trial. Yeah. And there I was for probably 14, 15 years or so, and then I came over to a place called Home. So it's been almost 30 years that I've been working in nonprofit, and much of that time as executive director or CEO. And it's a wonderful career. I mean, I highly recommend that to your listeners, to check out ways to get involved in contributing to and making your community a better place. It's a very rewarding thing to do. And I've been able to, keep my fingers in the arts world and in entertainment a little bit, and also bring those things into the organizations that I work with. And I love that. I love being able to mix the two things.
Yeah, help the future of Los Angeles get bigger and become a better community.
Healthier and level the playing field for young people who are growing up in poverty and may not have access to education or the best technology or travel or good jobs, things like that. That if we can level the playing field,
I like the way that.
Make sure that all young people,
Man, I like the way that you're making a place like you're the executive director of a place called Home. I've seen videos where you talk about gardening and stuff. I know that you like gardening. I like the way you're these kids Los Angeles is full of violence, and these kids don't need to see that. They need to be loved, protected. They need to see what activities could be made here in Los Angeles. And I like the way you're showing that in a place called Home. Because some kids they learn how to do violence at very young ages.
Yeah, you're right, Armando, and that's exactly what it's for, is to give an alternative to violence, right? Because that is not a good, sustainable, long-term solution or strategy for anybody's life. And sadly, too many young people in Los Angeles get caught up in that and end up going to jail or being victimized or
having a bad
hurting
future.
Other people. Yeah, it's a bad scene, right? So, as you know, you have a cousin who was actually in my program for a number of years. Wonderful, very creative individual, Chris. And he knows very well what that program can do for young people. And Chris and a lot of his contemporaries, friends of his, that I still stay in touch with to this day, who were in the program many years ago.
That's very nice to hear, because you meet people in this program that seem you need to stay in touch, at least having a phone number with them, so then you can see them in the future or something.
Yeah, it feels like family.
Yeah, it's second family.
We have adventures together. We do good things together, and it's very healthy. It's uplifting, and it's the kind of bond, that even if you don't see each other for years and years, you have this sense of shared purpose, shared values. And so, back to your original theme, because I know this is also something that you're very interested in, is a career in entertainment. That, for what it's worth, my kind of the secret of life that I discovered is to go after what you want, do the things that you're most interested in, but also figure out a way to contribute to making the world a better place while you're doing the thing that you want to do. And that makes it feel like, even if you don't, quote unquote, have big success, you're succeeding every single day because you're doing something that you enjoy doing, and you're contributing to making the world a better place. And that is success. I mean, even if you don't get rich and famous,
at least you leave good messages in what you do.
Yeah, you have purpose. And at the end of the day, that is the most important thing. There's a great quote from Cesar Chavez, who was a labor organizer
in Arizona.
For immigrant workers, he worked all over the Southwest. And there's a great quote I love of his. He says, "If we are truly honest with ourselves, we must admit that the only thing we really own is our lives, and it's what we do with our lives that determines the kind of people we are." And I just think about that, every day. It's like every day you have choices, and if you choose to, you can be a taker, you can be a giver, you can be a lover, you can be a hater, these are choices that we make every single day. And if you choose generosity and choose to share, contribute, and help other people, the secret of life is it makes you rich. That you always receive even more than you give.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be money either. It could be like the amount of friends you make. Like, you could be rich of friends. You could be rich of happiness.
That's it, right there.
Not always about money.
That's it, brother.
Yeah, I understand.
Joy, I always say that. Joy is a non-negotiable, and I get it. It's not always easy to feel joyful. This past year, it's been really hard on people. Mental health is a serious issue, and a lot of people are depressed and feeling isolated.
Because through like social distancing and online learning.
Yeah, it's very, very weird. This is not the way we're meant to live. But if you find a way to connect with other people and give, there's always people who need something you have to give, right? And that ends up serving your own needs and helping you with your own mental health, I find.
Yes. That is just beautiful, like, hearing, like, from acting and, like, wanting to leave, like, good messages, like fitting the role of an important character to helping others physically and socially through COVID right now, through the pandemic. You guys are still working to not break, like, the bond with you and the community.
Yeah, and that is absolutely correct. We're in touch with about 350 families in South LA. We're delivering food, we're communicating, we're providing classes online, mental health counseling. We're distributing musical instruments and art supplies, and it's like a lifeline, because for kids who are stuck at home and can't go out, can't socialize, can't get even physical activity. This is like, keeps them grounded in a way to some sense of normalcy. And hopefully when we get back, and hopefully that'll be soon, we can kind of pick up where we left off. But I will tell you, I'll say this, man, I miss people. I miss being able to hug people and, see people and laugh and hang out and go on walks. And, this is really rough, man.
They just changed the way we're living in a snap, just like that.
I know. It's crazy. It really is.
There is hope that we will go back to how it was.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's ever going to be exactly how it was, but
it's gonna like fade in slowly. Everything's gonna come back.
Yeah.
Slowly, not all
But
at once.
it makes you realize just how precious those things are, right?
Yeah.
Just simple things like hanging out with a friend. That is not to be taken for granted.
I know, like I say, there's sometimes like, oh man, I don't like school. I just want to go home. But now, I thought like when they closed school, I thought, oh man, I'm gonna love this. It's like summer vacation, but like a little bit of learning. It is actually not. I do not like this. I like going to school. I really do miss it. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's like a little piece of you that loves school.
Yeah. Well, because it's also the social interaction, right?
Yeah.
And it's stimulating, and every day is different. And sometimes now it feels like every day is the same.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, it is a beautiful day. I'm sitting here. I'm looking out the window. It's sunny. It's beautiful. I'm gonna take my dogs for a walk. I'm gonna do a little work outside in the yard. And it's the world's gotten kind of small in a way, but I'm gonna do what I can. Hang out with my family.
That still doesn't stop us from like doing nothing. We still find like good things to do around the house.
Yeah. And I've been getting into cooking a lot too. So
cooking is fun. I see cooking as a hobby. I see it as a hobby, and it's fun.
Yeah, plus you get to eat.
Yeah, that's the advantage.
So, last night I made a coconut curry. It was good. It was a little too spicy for my wife, but it was good.
Yeah. All right. I think this is gonna be time for a wrap up here. It was a pleasure having you here, Mr. Zeichner.
Well, thank you, Mr. Torres. I look forward to our paths crossing again. Maybe next time I'll ask you the question.
Yeah.
And you can tell your listeners your story.
Yeah. Do you have any do you have anything you'd like to share with my listeners about a place called home, like where they could contact a place called home?
Yeah, sure. Well, the website is apch.org, apch.org. There's a lot of content there. And if you go there, you can click on, there's a video that shows you what the organization does, and it shows a little bit of like before COVID and after COVID. So check that out. You can make a donation. No donation is too small. You can donate a buck if you want, but you can also sign up to volunteer. And even during COVID, we do have some volunteer opportunities. Very safe, social distance, masks, but you can come work in one of our gardens. And also on Wednesdays is when we pack up groceries and send them out in trucks to families. So there are some volunteer opportunities. And even for some of your listeners who are between the ages of 8 and 21, you can actually sign up. We have tons of classes online, and they're all free. And you could enroll.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Because most of my listeners are, they're from school.
Yes, and there are many ways if you get involved with APCH to be creative. You can get into a theater class. We're doing all this stuff online, I promise you. It's not exactly the same as being in person, but it's still really exciting.
It's still something.
We've actually we produced a couple of plays that we showed on Zoom. So, there's still plenty to do. There's cooking classes. We'll send you the ingredients, and you can watch the class and learn how to cook some good food. There's musical instruments. You can get guitar lessons. There's digital media. There's even athletics. We just had a soccer clinic, and we have players from the Galaxy who actually come on and run a soccer clinic for us. So check it out, apch.org.
All right, guys. I think this wrap up here. And this was Let Me Talk presents Jonathan Zeichner. Thank you guys for listening. Happy Valentine's Day. This podcast is going to be released Valentine's Day. Yeah, and stay safe out there. And this world is full of many mysteries, full of adventures, so keep on living. My name was Armando Torres, and have a good morning, evening, afternoon, what time you're listening to this. Goodbye.